Hey, what's up, guys? It's Sully Cortez. Thanks for joining me today on episode 2 of Let's Talk. Today we're going to be talking about how to get your first on-set job. Now, I want to first open up this episode with a little disclaimer, and that is that a lot of the YouTube videos that you see, they're kind of from one-man band people, and that's great. I love one-man band. You have a lot of freedom in what you do, and ultimately you are the final judge of your own content. However, a lot of them have not been on huge sets, film sets, big budget Hollywood studio sets. And the reason for that is because it's extremely hard to do. Not only is it hard to do to get your foot in the door if you've never done it, it's also hard to maintain that job lifestyle. So, that being said, let me go ahead and tell you how I got my first job on a film set, and maybe that'll give you guys some inspiration or some information that you didn't know that might help you get your first job on set. I'll talk about my first actual job on set, and then I'll talk about my first real job on set. So it was, I want to say 2007, the state of Connecticut, where I live, they had introduced a new 30% tax rebate for filmmakers. So that kind of incentivized why, big budget filmmakers should be shooting in Connecticut, because you get a 30% tax rebate. So back in 2006, when I was still in college, I applied for an internship on a film set. I can't even remember the name of the film, to be honest, but it had Mekhi Phifer in it, and it had Eve. She was a musician turned actress in it. And I worked on that film for 2 days. Basically, the way I got that gig was I went on and I'll have a link in the description. I went to a website called Grant Wilfley Casting. They're actually a casting website for actors and actresses. And at the time, they weren't an up-and-comer, but online they didn't have a really huge, strong presence. So it was a great website to sign up with and send in your resume, because they were looking for a lot of new people, a lot of new talent, whether it be actors, actresses, extras, or even crew. Now, not so much. Now I think it's more geared towards actors and actresses and maybe extras, no crew. But anyway, so the resume that I filled out, I basically put the most, the most basic information you could possibly put, because I didn't have any work experience in video or film. So this was my first job, hence why it was an internship. So I did that and got the job, got the internship, and went down and worked on the film for 2 days. And it was an independent movie, and it was a very small crew, probably about 30 people. And they shot for a month and a half. I was only there for 2 days. 2. So, and I did get paid regular, I believe non-union wages. They do have some sort of classification for paying you. The rates have changed since then, but yeah. So I did that, worked on it, basically just was a production assistant, going in coffee. I actually didn't get coffee. It just remedial stuff. Help this person walk over to craft services, help this person go to the bathroom, just not help them go to the bathroom, but show them where the locations were on set. And that was cool. It opened up my eyes to what you kind of need to do when you're on set. You can't really speak to people that you don't know. That's kind of frowned upon. You're really just there to work. And that's really what you want to do, is kind of close your mouth, only talk to your boss and people that are kind of like in your area and in your part of the job. Like if you're a production assistant, you're going to have other production assistants that you can talk with. If you're in camera, you're going to have other camera people that you could talk with. So I did that movie. Then and that was in March of, I believe, 2007. And then spring, like May, I want to say May or June of 2007, they, in the paper, the New Haven Register, which is one of the bigger cities in Connecticut, there was an ad for the filming of a new Steven Spielberg movie. At the time, he hadn't really named the film, but because of the press and the papers and everything, we kind of knew what it was. And it was the next Indiana Jones movie, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So I took that article, and at the bottom of the article, there was a link and phone number to call to sign up for an open audition. And they were looking for extras. They were not looking for crew. So I went and put my submission in, and basically on the day, what you did was you went down to a huge convention at the Omni in New Haven, which is just it's a big hotel, 5-star hotel, and they had a huge open business meeting room, and in the meeting room there was about 5 or 6 casting people from Spielberg's camp that were looking for extras because they did a scene in Yale, and Yale is in Connecticut, if you don't know. Yale is one of the Ivy League schools. And while they were looking for extras, I was there. I filled out an application. It was a 2-page application you had to fill out. I, on the back, wrote about a paragraph detailing how I was a film student and how I would work harder than any other person that was in that line. Out of all the people that were in that line, you were not going to find anybody that wanted to work as hard as I did on that film right then and there. And I'm pretty sure that's what got me the job, because the very next day, it hadn't even been 24 hours yet, but the very next day, I got a call from Kenyon Noble, who was the second assistant director on Indiana Jones in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And he said, hey, look, we weren't really looking for help, but we did stumble upon your application, and we liked, what we saw. We liked how enthusiastic you were, and we'd like you to come down and talk. And I was like, sure, great. So let's do it. So the following day, I went down, and I met with Kenyon, who's really nice, and we talked, and he asked me, what I wanted to do, and I said, I want to work on movies. I want to work in Hollywood and film. And I basically spilled my guts to him. I told him how bad I wanted to do it, why I wanted to do it, and where I saw myself going in terms of a career, and that this could be the jump off to a great career. And in talking with him, he kind of saw that, okay, this person actually wants to do the job. They're probably going to do it well, and they're probably not going to talk back. And they're going to do whatever I ask them to do. So there you have it. That's how I got both my first job and my first real job on a big budget set. Now, is that going to be what everyone can do? Probably not. That's a huge jump. I got lucky because they happened to be filming in my state, and it was kind of a new thing. And because of the tax incentive, it was more reason for them to come. And because of my enthusiasm, it was more reason for them to hire me. Now, I will say that was the biggest set that I've worked on. It was huge. And here's the best part. I didn't get hired as a production assistant. A production assistant is kind of the lowest job on the totem pole when you're working on a Hollywood film set. I got hired as an RF technician assistant. Basically, that was not it's funny because I think I'm the only RF technician assistant ever in Hollywood, because it was a made up term. The RF technician was a guy named Benton something. I can't remember his last name, but I'm sure if you look up the credits, he's in it. But he basically, what he was in charge of was the video feed that relayed from the camera on the chase vehicles directly to Spielberg's monitor. So whenever Spielberg or the camera operator or the DP was controlling the motorized cameras that were on the chase vehicles, he was in charge of that feed and I was his assistant. So there you go. There's the chain of command. And it was a great job because I got to see firsthand exactly how Spielberg works, exactly how he runs a set, and really learned, how you need to act on set. What your job is, what your place on the totem pole is, and what you need to do and what you need to not do. A funny side note: when we were there, they were doing a scene where Shia LaBeouf was on a motorcycle and he was driving through these small little alleyways in Yale, and they drove right by me because I was kind of off camera at the very end of the trail that he was driving on, and he drove down and got off his bike and took off his jacket, and because he was kind of hot, and threw it on the ground for a minute. And somebody had told me that I didn't know who he was. At the time, he wasn't like a huge star, and I didn't know who he was. And somebody told me that his name was Shiloh. So he dropped his jacket. I picked it up because they called over the radio. They called, reset, and that was for everybody to reset because they were going to run it for a second time, another take. And he got on his bike and he was about to turn around and head back. And I said, "Hey, wait, your jacket!" And I grabbed his jacket and I went to go hand it to him. And I said, "Here you go, Shiloh." And he grabbed the jacket and he looked at me and he was like, "The name is Shia." So that's definitely one thing you don't want to do while you're on set is call the talent their wrong name. You shouldn't even be talking to the talent, period, because you really don't want to distract them or take them out of their element. Because they're there to do a job just like you are, and it's very easy to distract them. But you definitely don't want to call them the wrong name. Just a little piece of advice. So anyway, hopefully this episode will give some of you some inspiration again to go out there and really put yourself out there, even if you think that it's a job that the position that you're applying for is not really what you want. Still go out and do it, because somebody there may see your enthusiasm and want you to work with them because you want to work in that area, in that field. They're not just going to hire you because you have the best camera. They're not just going to hire you because you have tons of gear. They're not just going to hire you because you have a blazing resume. Nobody's going to hire you based on not talking to you and not seeing your personality and what you have to offer and bring to the table. They're going to hire you because of those things, because of what you have to bring to the table, because of your enthusiasm, because of your work ethic. Those are the things that are going to get you hired. Not all these remedial things that don't really matter, that are just superficial. Again, a lot of the content creators on YouTube have not had experience on actual film sets. So I wanted to make this episode so that, again, hopefully this will help somebody get out there and get on their first film set to get their first job. And hopefully it does. So if you guys have any questions, comments, go ahead and leave them below. Again, I'll have links in the description for some of the sites that kind of helped me. And just to reiterate, that particular job, working on Indiana Jones in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, actually got me 4 more jobs after that. I worked on The Women with Annette Bening, Meg Ryan, Jada Pinkett Smith, and that was directly through Kenyon, who, he called me when that was filming a couple months later because I did so good on Indiana Jones. And then a year after that, I also got called to do, by Grant Wilfley, I got called to do My Soul to Take with Wes Craven and Max Thieriot. I think that's how Thoreau. I'm not sure how you say his last name, but he's now Norman Bates' brother on Bates Motel. So that was one of his first movies. And I got to work with Wes Craven. That was great. Watching him work was phenomenal. And I also, after that, I also got a call through one of the other cast members on Indiana Jones, got me a job working on Righteous Kill, which was John Avnet, I believe, directed it, and that had 50 Cent and Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, and that was a great movie. And again, learned a lot on set. So it's not always about being a one-man band. There are other bigger opportunities out there for you to make, for you to take, and the world is so big, and there's so much opportunity. You really shouldn't limit yourself just to thinking, okay, I'm just going to be a one-man band with my 2 mirrorless cameras, and that's all I'm going to do. There's bigger, higher aspirations that you can reach for, and you should reach for. So don't limit yourself. So yeah, like, subscribe, comment below. Thanks for checking out episode 2. We're going to be coming back next week with episode 3, and I do have some new reviews coming out. So if you like what you see, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, thumbs down. Either way, don't forget, get out there and capture that moment. Thanks, guys.